All right, it's 9:15, so we'll go ahead and get started. Is this on at all? Mic's on. There we go. Mark didn't have it on, I guess. Now it's on? Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah. Okay. I'm Brian Poole. I am a teacher, technology integration specialist, and tech coordinator for my school district. I am from National Trail Local Schools. Kind of have a background in computers, was in the Air Force for a few years, retired back in 2017 from the reserves, but I've been at National Trail since 2003, and this is a topic that is kind of important to me because of my son. I have 4 boys, and my youngest has cerebral palsy, and he has been on an IEP since he entered school because of some of his delays. And UDL has become something important because as Luke has come through the school district, and he's in 7th grade now, those things that are on his IEP, I realize are things that he doesn't go to. By the way, he didn't go to our school district. He goes where I live, which is not the same place. But I realized some of those things that the IEP team was asking teachers to do for Luke were things that I could do for all my students all the time. And then when UDL started being talked about in schools, I'm like, this is UDL. I'm doing UDL in my classroom already. It's just a new name for what I was doing. So it kind of, some of the things that I do have a deep kind of feeling in me that the importance of these things and what we can do. Basically, when I started teaching and when I got my education degree, we talked about differentiation in the classroom. There's a difference between UDL and differentiation, but not a huge one. When we differentiate, we pick out a student to do something particular for because they've been identified either by the system, by us, by something as needing some special educational needs. UDL does many of those same practices, but they do them for the entire class so that those students that need them get them without having to be identified and have to be targeted. No one has to say, here's your Chromebook, you're special. Yeah. You don't get one. And now everybody knows that she's special because she's the only one with that device in the whole room, right? And if we do some of these things for our entire class, I will tell you from my own experience with my son, he doesn't like feeling like he's different in the classroom and that something is being done special for him. And if these techniques were used in his classroom, they wouldn't have to do anything else for him. So there are some differences there, but some of those things you can do for all your kids and meet all those goals. And I will tell you, I've got a student on a 504 and I've got a student on an IEP. And I do nothing really different as far as my instruction for those two because the things I do as part of my UDL already hits every single thing on both their 504 and the IEP without me doing something special for them. So kind of talk through. There's some different principles of UDL. I'm not going to go through all of it. There's some. I really want to talk about techniques and what I do in the classroom more than the principles of UDL. And we've all learned multiple intelligences, and we've all learned different modes of learning. And the idea is we're trying to do some different things, or things that we do already, but kind of do them a little bit differently, so that we kind of hit all these things for all of our kids. So, what I'm really talking about is trying to use, obviously it's a technology conference, trying to use technology to hit those things without making it so we're doing tons of extra work. And I don't want to say that in a good or a bad way, but we all have constraints of time, and and I'll tell you this has been a problem with my son, is that when we sit down with the IEP team, you get those teachers that are like, I don't have time to do this, I can't do this for this child. And I'm like, I do it for every single kid, every single class, every single lesson. It's not extra work, it's just a different way to do some things. So here's what I consider what I teach my staff, the phases of implementation. And your seats, can you guys even see the screen? Can you guys see it? Oh, okay, I guess you can. So of how to kind of make things happen slowly, because you can't do everything that I'm going to talk about. Well, you could if you were single and had no kids and nothing to do at night, but no, many of us are not in that situation, right? So these are kind of phases that I'm going to kind of talk through and what I've done. So the first thing is to make things as digital as possible. So everything I have, everything I do is posted somewhere for all my kids, all my students, all my parents, everyone to get to all the time. Okay, and I'm going to talk about some of those things and why, but this talks about how, if a child is reading impaired, we've got students in our school that have vision problems, that have a huge iPad, and they have to blow things up to be able to read anything. You can't do that well with pictures as well as you can with digital content. Because with the picture, if I zoom in, now I get this part of the picture. With digital content, if I zoom in and it's actually OCR, it just reformats itself to the screen, and now it is this wide, as opposed to I have to now scroll through with my fingers to see stuff. So I'm going to talk about doing digital and sharing those things and trying to think of different ways that you can share the same content online, giving them access to different ways to learn. So when I talk about making your stuff digital, I'm talking about every single thing, every single piece of paper that you hand out to a child, okay? And I really think the most important thing is to do it OCR'd. And if you don't know what OCR means, if you go and take your worksheet and stick it in a copier and turn it into a PDF, it is a picture of the worksheet. Students can't use a screen reader on it. It's basically just something that they can look at in a different way on a different mode. If you OCR it, it's all text. Now screen readers work. Now they can copy and paste. Now they can edit things. And most of you probably have copiers in your district that already do it. The question is, did the tech department turn it on? And do you know how to use it? In our district, I already have every single copier set to automatically OCR. It means that your scan gets there 30 seconds later because the computer in the copier then takes it in, does optical character recognition on the whole document, and then emails it to your email address. And now it's a PDF file still, but it's a PDF file that can be read, can copy and paste, you can re-edit stuff, all without doing anything extra other than making sure that's set up. Some copiers, we had a different copier contract 5 years ago. They had that ability, and they wanted $500 per copier to turn it on. I fired them. I'm not paying $500 to turn on a feature that's already on the copier that I'm already paying you for to be in our district. So that's kind of a question you guys need to have with your own district. In many cases, when you hit copy, it asks you, there's like a little checkbox that says, do you want to OCR this document? So sometimes it's an option, sometimes it's something on the back end. The tech director just has to go, always OCR all documents. Nobody gets back to their room before it gets there anyway. So it's not like, oh, I needed it 15 seconds ago. It's still not here. It's not that big of a deal. So that's the single easiest way to do that. The next way is if you have older or less capable copiers, you can still send that PDF to yourself, and then there are different ways to OCR. Does anybody here use Cami? Cami automatically OCRs. If your district has Cami and it's not turned on, you just have to contact Cami and say, we want the full OCR for all of it. It costs nothing extra. It's a beta feature that we've had for 2 years, and it works wonderfully.
How do you spell that? Cami?
K-M-I, and I'm going to talk about it here in a minute. The other thing is there's lots of websites that you can upload documents to, and they'll send them right back to you OCR'd, and you can use software like Adobe Acrobat to automatically OCR a document as well. So, and then I teach all my kids, if they're going to be OCR'd, I teach all my kids, not my IEP students, every single one in a classroom setting, we're all doing it together, how to use the Chrome apps for everyone. We all do a lesson together where everybody has to put on headphones and use the screen reader so that it's not like, again, I'm picking on you, here she's going to put on her headphones and have this read to her. You guys all read this something else. Everyone in the class has the ability to pop their headphones in when they're doing any reading and have it read with them. There are many students out there that are slow in reading that are not identified. We may say, oh my gosh, that student's not a great reader, but if they're not identified, we don't have to do anything, right? But we can give them those tools. So I do that with Chrome apps, and there's a little video down here I'm not going to go through. But part of getting things digital, getting them online, having them posted somewhere, I have almost all my textbooks online as well. I've converted what I used in online textbooks so they can use screen readers for everything. If you've never heard of ck12.org, if you're like, I don't have a digital copy of my textbook, ck12.org is a foundation that creates textbooks for almost every subject. They're all free, they're all editable, they have videos, links, all kinds of stuff in them, and many of our teachers have gone and said, okay, when we go to adopt a new textbook, we're always like, look there first, make sure there's not already a free one there, and you're allowed to print them, send them off, and get them turned into paper books too, and the greatest thing is you can reorganize them and edit them and make them your own. So we had a course in our science department. They were trying to get some remedial students to get past the science test, and so they created another course, and if you know anything about the testing for the state of Ohio, it's not just one, you're not, with the prior OGT, you weren't just trying to pass biology, it was a mix, and the science teacher was able to take 2 chapters from this book and 2 chapters from this book, and he made his own textbook out of theirs, and then we had it published, and we had our own textbook for that new course that only had information they needed for that course. So ck12.org is a neat thing to look at if you've never looked at that. So we post everything in our learning management system. We have Moodle. I am kind of one of the probably few Moodle fanboys around, but I am. Moodle's great. A lot of schools tried Moodle back 10 years ago in its youth, and it's matured immensely since then. It's not the same LMS that it used to be. If you don't have an LMS, Moodle is free, and any school can put it in. Google, Schoology, all those things have ways to post your content digitally and make them accessible for students. I'm not a huge fan of Google Classroom because it's not an LMS. It's not even close to an LMS. It is a document management system, which is great for what it does, and we use Google Classroom alongside our LMS, but it's very hard to organize things as well as an LMS lets you do. But if that's what you've got, you can post those things there as well. So when I talk about things that we can add, I think I've got it next, and I've already talked about this, making sure you OCR thing. There's a link to a document in here on how to OCR doc, that video that I made for my staff there. If you've got Adobe Acrobat, you can follow that through and see how to do that. You have to teach your kids how to add Chrome apps. Some of them know, some of them have no idea. So if you want them to add these things, and I make them all, we're sitting in class, okay, everybody log on to Chrome, everybody's gonna add this app. I show them how to find and add apps. In this case, I'm just kind of telling you guys, you just Google the app name in the Chrome Web Store. And the one that is probably the biggest app that I go through first is Read and Write for Google Chrome. It lets you have anything that it can see on the screen read to the student, and it doesn't cost anything to do that. So any website they go to, which is why I post all my content on my Moodle page, so that if they're in there and I have reading, all they have to do is, there's a little hover bar, they hover on there, and it just starts reading and highlighting as they go. Much like this is doing up top here, it does the same thing on whatever web page you're at. So that's the first thing I teach my students how to use, is Read and Write for Google Chrome. I also have them add the dictionary thesaurus and reference, because many times when they are reading, they get to a word that they do not understand, and I want to teach them how to look up those words when they get there. So instead of trying to find a book or something, they can just highlight, click on it, and it tells them and reads them that word and lets them know what that word is in the dictionary. Cami is one that's fantastic. I have it for our school, and my son has it. Cami is an add-on that is free, but it's worth the money. So some features don't work in Cami if you don't have the paid version. It will OCR any PDF, period. It will add it into your Google Documents. It'll let your students do a worksheet online. My son has a touchscreen Chromebook. Any assignment they have, he just opens up in Cami. He writes with his finger on the screen or pops a text editor. It does a voice to text. It does text to voice. But the paid version, you need to do voice to text. It's not expensive. It costs $100 for a classroom of 100 students. So we have one IEP classroom at my school, and any student that any teacher wants to have the full version, we just add them to that classroom, and then they magically have the full version when they log on to. So that's cheap. You can also license your entire school. That's more expensive. It is cheaper for us if we bought 10 licenses to have everybody on it than it was to do the whole school. So I just paid for Cami, made myself the teacher, and sent out the code to every single one of the teachers and said if anybody wants to enroll everyone you can, and we haven't hit the limit on it. So, but Cami is great. I highly recommend looking into Cami. It's probably the single biggest thing that's helped my son out, because it makes it so that teachers, all they have to do for him is when they're making a copy of anything, they push email, and it emails to Luke, and he gets it, and it turns it into an OCR document. He can have him read the worksheet to him and work on the worksheet and stuff. So Cami is a great way to get things digital. Like I said, it lets you edit right on there. So I have in my classroom, for instance, the worksheet. If they click on it, they can open it up, and then they can just click on there and type their answers right on the worksheet, and then submit it right back to me, and I get an email that says, has a link on it, and I can click on it, and I can see what editing and what they've done on it. So it does require some document management, because when you start getting emails from kids, just like if you didn't use Google Classroom and they were just sending you links to documents, it can get kind of messy. So you kind of have to make sure you're organizing these things. And again, they can go into Google Drive, and you can organize them in Google Drive as soon as you get those things too. This is just a picture of what Cami looks like. I don't know, do I have a video or something on here? No, I guess I don't. That's it opened up in Cami, and some of the tools, they can pick colors, they can type in text, they can draw on it and erase and add pictures, and this is the speech-to-text button there. It just lets them interact with any PDF document really, really easily. And obviously some of these tools, most of these tools, and not all these, require you to have technology in the classroom, right? If you're, it would still help kids at home. If you've got a school that doesn't have one-to-one or something close to a one-to-one, hosting those things still will support parents and those kids at home. And some of the phase 3 things only ever get used at home, and I'll show you when we get to that. It's just showing you that you can open it up and organize it in Google Drive. And this slide is out of order. I'm going to skip this slide. There we go. Oh, maybe it's not. It is out of order. What the heck? I dragged some slides around someplace out of the way. Well, I'm going to, here, let's, I'm going to go back to my own little thing here. So phase 1 is just using that content that you already have and trying to get it presented in a way, not making anything new, just giving it to the students in a new way and making sure it's accessible to them to use some of those tools. Phase 2, I don't know how my slides got out of order, I don't know what I did, is to use those tools that you have in the classroom available to you. Most people have digital whiteboards. In fact, I don't know many that don't have something. Our district has a mixture of smart boards and Mimeo boards. Many people have gotten the new cool, I don't like them, but very expensive touchscreen TVs. They're awesome, but they're way too expensive to get to the whole district. So unless your district has a couple $1 million just sitting on a table, it's silly to me to get those and only give them to part of your staff. Tools should be available to all your staff. So when I talk about this, and this is one of the things in my son's IEP, he's supposed to have notes for the class because he's delayed in reading, but he's not delayed cognitively, which is something that when I first started teaching I did not understand. You know, I feel bad for my first set of students because I get an IEP and it said read at a third grade reading level. So, oh, they're dumb. And I'm not saying that. I'm saying I was dumb because that's what I thought. I thought cognitively they could not understand my material or they wouldn't read at a third grade reading level, so I gave them totally different things to do than my other students. I have come to learn it doesn't mean that. My son Luke is extremely intelligent. He's the same level as his 3 older brothers. He can understand anything you tell him But if you give him a piece of paper to read, he will read every single word in that sentence, and you will say, "What did that say, Luke?" And he has no idea. But if you tell him, he does. So notes are needed because he needs just the bullet points to remember what it is you went across. Okay? That's been a huge thing in the team this year. Last year is the one who said we need to give him notes before class so that he can just follow through with the notes and he knows what I'm talking about. This year I've been to 2 IEP meetings that the staff has said, "We don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean notes?" I'm like, "What do you mean, what do I mean notes? We all went to college, we all graduated from high school, you know darn well what notes are. So you want us to make notes for him?" Yes, that's what's in the IEP because he can't read the textbook. He can only remember what you told him and the notes are there to supplement that. So I do that, that's my phase 2. I record, I do everything with my digital whiteboard software. I export it every single class and I post it on my calendar every single class. Every single student has all the notes before and after class. The before class is this with no writing. I have it posted up there. They can open it up and follow it through. And afterwards, because I've been writing on it, it was a blank canvas when I started. Afterwards, they get it with all the actual writing and everything else posted on there as well. That's what I call phase 2. I consider that no work because I should be using my tools anyways. I still have many teachers who don't. That I have a Mimeo board or a smart board in every single room, and I get the, "Well, I'll start using it with my kids as soon as I'm good at it." That never happens. It doesn't. There's one way to good at it, and that's just to use the dang thing. And yes, you'll screw up. I screw up. I've been using it for years. I couldn't get it to work the other day. My students were laughing at it. I'm the tech director. I'm like, "Oh my God, it worked!" I finally had to go across the hall and get dry erase markers. It was so frustrating. Anyway, so it happens, but who cares? Students know that we make mistakes. So you kind of have to get used to using those tools. A smart notebook just exports as a PDF, and you can post that really easily. I have never seen any smart or any digital whiteboard software that didn't have an export function to be able to put it out as another format when you're done. So that's what I call phase 2. My stuff is out of order. The last one that we just went to is what I'm calling phase 3. I do what I'm doing today for every single class I teach, and I have done it for 5 years. Every class I teach is recorded. The screen capture is recorded. Last year I added a camera at the other side of the room, so I'm now letterboxed in the bottom right-hand corner, and that was a request by both my students and staff. I do all my PE classes on Tuesday. We record so staff members don't have to come, and we stream them live on YouTube if they want to stay in the room and do whatever and put me on the other screen while they're working on something else. And they were like, "It's kind of boring watching a video of a screen for 45 minutes. Could you at least be on it?" And then I added a camera. I'm not saying anybody needs to do that because I did it this way for years. And many people don't want to see themselves in the video. Understandable. Well, look at my videos, and my hair has changed a lot over the last 5 years, and I don't like seeing that about me in the video. I'll be here writing like this and like watching my own video. I'm like, it's getting bigger back there. So let me get back to where I was on the thing that was out of order there. So I started recording every class, and I post them in Moodle. You have a class calendar, and I post them right on the calendar. I used to post them in the actual courseware, but I found out that was much harder for the students if they're like, they know they missed class on Tuesday, so they can just go to Tuesday and click on it, and there's the video, and there's the notes. So if they want to look at the PDF, they can click right there on the calendar. If they want to watch the video, and you can see that's what I mean by letterbox down in the corner of the video. That's using, if you don't want to have you in there, I just use the screen recorder software that comes with your digital whiteboard, and they all have them. This is Smart Recorder that I'm using right now. It requires me to push the red button and then push the other red button when I'm done, and that's it, and it saves it. And then I upload it to YouTube, put it on my class, and that process takes about 2 minutes for me to get it all done of extra work. My videos aren't like, well, I have, okay, so this is the last, what? This is the last week. My students made that, by the way. They thought that was funny, and I was like, I'm going to put it up anyway. The big, I don't know if it catches on this, the analytics of it, they're not watching an 80-minute classroom when they come to look at your video. They're watching 5 minutes. The thing they phased out for because they can't pay attention the whole class while I'm walking around and waving my hands and talking to them. Very seldom do kids come and watch the whole thing. They just want the thing they missed or the thing they didn't understand. And teachers that teach things like math, I guarantee you they'd watch it way more than they watch mine, because many times I'm ADD, ADHD, I was never diagnosed, but I guarantee you I was sitting in Mr. Arnett's calculus class, and I wanted to know everything he said. I really wanted to get a 5 on my AP test at the end of the year, and halfway through the problem, I was suddenly on a beach somewhere, and then I came back from the beach, and he was on the next problem, and I have no idea how I finished that calculus problem because I couldn't sit there for 45 minutes of him doing calculus problems. At some point, as much as I wanted to be there, I was not. And I guarantee you, every other kid is the same way. Even the best kids want to pay attention to the whole class, and they can't do it. And if they could just come back for that one thing they missed, they would. So I don't have a lot of kids. You can see in the last, month I had about 400 views. So in the recording, I already said one possibility is just using your free software that came with your digital whiteboard. The other one is to use something called OBS Studio, which is also free. It's not as simple, but once you have it set up, it's pretty easy. I have hotkeys, and I actually have a poster next to my wall because I forget which hotkey is what. I'm like, F10 start recording, and F9 pause, and I hit F10 again because I'll pause if there's something going on that doesn't need to be in the video. Anyways, okay, so those are our two possibilities, and then I post those on our class calendar, and these links are just little videos on how to use those things and how to post them. Dragging to YouTube, and by the way, all my YouTube videos are unlisted that are student class videos. The only way to find them is to be in my classroom, on my calendar, and click there. Because I have students, right? I have students that ask questions and talk, and I'll say, hey Charlie, what's the answer to this one? I don't want anybody else in the Googleverse finding that he got the question wrong or right. That's not what it's for. So my PD videos, like this one, are all posted on a different site, and they're all open. But all the ones from my actual classroom, I just upload them and make them unlisted, and then I basically you just have to drag the link in the middle, hit save, and it automatically embeds it and does everything for you. So you could do the same thing with a shared Google Calendar, though. You can have, if you just have Google, you can take a Google Calendar, make it a class calendar, share it to those students, and just post those links around the calendar, right? As events on a Google Calendar, and it works perfectly fine. It works that way as well. I would say it doesn't take much extra time to provide your text digitally. I don't think it takes any extra time. You're already going to the copier if you go to the copier. Otherwise, you might be just putting it out, some other way based off your computer or something. But that doesn't take a lot of extra time. And posting and recording your classes, literally 2 minutes is the maximum amount of time it takes me to do that. I'm done with the class. I'm over here. I hit stop. I have a link on my desktop that goes to the YouTube upload thing. I click on that. I drag the video over there. Then I walk my students out to the door and say, bye, have a good day, blah, blah, blah. They all come in. By the time I'm back over to my desk, it's fully loaded. And then I just copy the link and put it on my calendar, and I'm done. So it's not, this sounds like a lot, but it is not. Getting used to making yourself do it is hard. It's hard to make it become a routine. for the first 3 or 4 years that I did it, all around my whiteboard are signs that said, did you start recording? Are you recording, dummy? Tell Mr. Poole to start recording. And I'm not kidding, they're all around the room. Because I'm like, I want to make this something I do every time, and you guys have to make sure I remember to do it. And if it's not up on the calendar, it's your fault, because you never told me. It's not my fault. That's probably wrong to shift the blame there. So that's basically it as far as what I consider things that you can do. Those 3 things, those 3 phases would fill everything in my son's IEP. There would be nothing else that anyone would have to do. And it's not really extra work once you get used to it. It isn't. You have to have some kind of an online presence to do it, whether you use it Google Classroom or you've got a good LMS. If you're a one-to-one and you don't have an LMS, you should talk to your people about getting one. Google Classroom is not yet an LMS. It's trying to be kind of sort of one. What Google Classroom does is 1/100th of what Moodle does. I'm doing a session tomorrow. It's a 2-hour session on the wonderful world of Moodle. And if you have an LMS, don't come because you might get frustrated. It's different than most of the other ones. It's the largest one in the world. There are hundreds of thousands of schools and universities that use it. And it's because it's free. And most D3 schools, if anybody has any student at a D3 school, every one that my kids went to, Wittenberg, Worcester, and DePaul, all use Moodle, and my kids always heard about it because I would talk about Moodle, and they didn't have it at the district they're at. And as soon as my one that was at Worcester got using Moodle, he's like, oh my gosh, Dad, it's awesome. I can just turn in my paper from my lap. He's like, yeah, you can. So many schools use it, and I think it's a great tool. So how am I doing on time? I'm good on time. I'm way good on time. Is there any questions I can answer for you guys? Yeah.
2 questions. One, do most, to your knowledge, most whiteboard recorders capture sound, or do you need an additional mic system?
Okay, so I've never seen one that didn't capture sound, but you obviously have to have a mic. So this is just a mic I brought that I use for graduations. Every classroom at Trail, I bought a $49, it's called a Snowflake mic by Blue. They're $49 and they're mounted in their ceilings because I already have USB running to the digital whiteboard, so I just put little hubs up there and popped out the mic, and the mic's right over their whiteboard, so they don't have to. When I first started, I tried a headset. It's very distracting to you and to your students. I tried a Bluetooth one that went with the phone. That didn't get sound well, but when I started using just a USB mic, it worked great. Some teachers, they're not up there. I mounted them in every high school classroom as part of a blended learning project that we did with the state. We got a $120,000 grant from the state. And then after that, it was just, if you want one, just tell me and we'll mount it. Anybody who asks for it. Everybody has a digital whiteboard and a projector. If you ask for it, you get a document camera. If you ask for it, you get a USB microphone. I think that's it for most equipment that we have in the league.
And then my other question is, how is this happening?
Oh, okay, so this is, if you've never used this before, if you do a Google slideshow, all you have to do is hit the closed caption, and it will, so not only, and this is, I should mention that, is if you use Google Slides and you don't hit it, your kids, I mean, you can see it gets almost everything right. It's not perfect, but it's darn close. So all you have to do when you start a Google slideshow is hit this CC button right there, and it will shrink it down and start putting that up top.
Does it capture it anywhere? That you could
I am because, I don't think so. If it does, I don't know. It's just on the video. And the kids like it because if they're watching the video on the bus, they don't have to have headphones or anything else. I can't read it. I don't have good enough eyes anymore, but they apparently can on some of it. So, and I honestly don't use this very often because I rarely do an actual slideshow type thing. Almost never really. Mine are smart notebook files that I modified and used over the years and edit and stuff. So I'm really using the smart software with mine.
Does that have similar capability?
It does not have this. Anybody else have any questions? Yeah.
Yeah, you said you do PD. Are we by any chance going to get links so that we can watch
Yeah,
some
so
of your
it's
other
all,
videos?
it'll be up on youtube.nationaltrail.us, that first one, it'll be up there. And you already have this, I can put the link in the bottom of the video too. Yeah, I do that, all my PD I record and post, so that, because I'm the same way, right? You go to somebody else's class and that was great what they said, I didn't write it down, kind of thing. So.
Yeah, and any other PDs that you've done?
Yeah, they're all on youtube.nationaltrail.us. In
Great.
fact, my intern has been fervently going through them, because a lot of those were hidden because there was student stuff on them, and he's been going through and blurring it out with Google Editor to try to make it so that we can have them all posted. Some of those, I would send out to my staff the link, but they weren't searchable on Google because of that.
Okay.
So I went way faster than I expected.
If you have something that's a Google Doc or a Word document or something like that, is it already OCR? Do you have
Yeah.
to run it through something?
Yeah, no. If you've got any Word document, all those are already. If you can highlight a letter, it's already OCR. It's just when you scan a PDF, it's just a picture of the thing. So that's why it's not usable by any kind of screen reader.
And what Chrome add-ons you recommend? The one I wrote down.
Read and Write for Google Chrome is the biggest one to get in, so kids can just listen. That's the biggest one. And then the dictionary and thesaurus one, I think, is a good one for kids to have. And then Cami, if you use any PDFs at all, Cami's a great one because it allows them to interact straight with them. You don't have to put
Question,
that.
sorry. For testing, I know we have pull-out with the kids. Right now, we pull them out to have testing, but we don't even need to do that if we just.
No, in fact, I have two kids that I said they're on 504 and IEPs, and it has on both theirs, they can be pulled out to test for my room. And I'm like, please don't, because that person over there is not going to be able to answer I teach computer hardware. So when the motherboard reading comes up on what kind of motherboard is this, ATX, BTX? They don't know the answer to that question because they don't even know what the question is asking, right? I can help you. Stay here, right? So, and I modify with Google as well. I'm not saying I don't modify anything. So I'll show you, for instance, on my classroom. So everything's digital, and in Moodle, everything's also kind of automatic. I'm going to go down to last test we just did down here. So yeah, I'm going to go to, I'm going to leave it on this view for now. So this looks very busy. The students don't see all this busyness. But when they get down to, it's gamified, by the way, so fights or tests, skirmishes or quizzes, they can redo skirmishes. They can't redo fights unless they earn it. But anyway, so they go down here and they see the chapter 4.2 fight. Well, they see this link if they do not belong to IEP or 504 group, and they see this one if they do. So if I'm sitting next to you and you're on a 504, I don't know you have anything else different than I do. But when you click on your link, your test is half the size as mine. But they don't know that either because they only see one question at a time. So I have Moodle set up to automatically differentiate for me based on the student's group that they're in. And I don't do anything extra. I do something extra, but they don't know I know. So for instance, when I made this online test, I made it, and then I made the one that's for everybody. And then I copied it to this one, and then I went in that one and just deleted questions that that's above their reading level. This one, is just redundant with this one because I'm trying to make it so they have more time. So instead of them needing twice the time to take the test, I gave them half the test that they did, so they still get done at the same amount of time. In fact, my one student that's on the one that's on the biggest IEP usually gets done first and has the best grade in the class. So because he doesn't really have to read, which is what his IEP is on, because everything in the class he can have read to him, he can rewatch the videos, and he does. He's the one who watches them the most because he can't read it and get it just like my son can. But if he can listen to it one more time, and he does it on the bus ride home, because he can just turn it on and set it down and has his headsets and he can re-get whatever I have. So that's one of the coolest things about Moodle. And then, like, if they do terrible, I'm off task, but if they do badly on the test, as soon as they're done with the test, they see these intervention activities show up. And as soon as they do that intervention activity, they see that one. As soon as they do that one, they have to go through, and these are worth almost nothing. These are formative. So they have to go through these intervention activities, and as soon as they finish the last intervention activity, they see the reattack, and so they can take a different version of the test, which will replace their original test grade. So everybody has the ability now. I don't do extra credit. I do extra work. If you want a better grade and you don't like it, just do the extra assignments, earn the ability to do the extra, and then take the extra test. And there are certain kids that will do it, and it's not a grade level. If you got a 90 and wanted a 95, you can redo it too. It's not like you have to have gotten a D, although Moodle will let you do that if you want to. You can say if your grade was below this, you see this, otherwise you do it. So, anyways, I'm off task with that. But you can see up here in my calendar, the kids can go straight to the calendar and then see, well, that's the assignment. There we go. They can see the video right in there. Oh, this one's, why is this one showing? I don't know why I would be getting that filter right there. Anyway, oh, it just came up as soon as I did. But then you can see that the classes, in this case, I broke it into 2 videos instead of 1, and stuff in there. But they can go and just click on it and rewatch that or whatever. It's really easy for them. Does anybody else have any questions? Yeah.
So we're like one of the few Microsoft schools. Do you know if there's a closed caption on PowerPoint?
Don't know. I just realized what you meant when you said a Microsoft school. I'm like, we have Windows? Yeah, okay.
Download a extension for it. If you go to the Microsoft website, it's called Translate. And so what it'll do is it'll put up closed caption or like, so I use it for students who speak Spanish as well. But it'll show up closed caption where you can also translate. It's not the best, but
Since I did, does it show there?
but it works. Like it'll be
I think this does translate too. I think you can put a different language up if you want to. So you could pick, you could be teaching in English and have it do its whatever version of Spanish up there at the same time for somebody who's a different language. So, yeah.
How do you think you do that? Like, to do the translate with closed caption, where do you think that is?
Here, let me just. I think it's right. Okay, so captions. Maybe I'm crazy.
click right there.
It says English only. Hover over it.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. You turn it back on. It says turn on English only.
Turn on caption. Yeah, okay. I've never tried to do that. I've never had somebody speak in another language, so, but I thought I saw on somebody else's thing that they had it translated in another session I went to one time.
But you need the microphone to be able to do that.
Yeah, it has to hear it. Now, if you're using a laptop, I could have not used the mic because the laptop has a mic. And actually the laptop mic on this works very well. I use it in sessions all the time, but I didn't know what kind of room I was on the mic. So.
You had mentioned back towards the beginning about letting every student have it read, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on, my background as a ELA teacher, so in the ELA test, there are students who very definitely are not allowed to have the accommodation of having it read. So if everyone has the option to choose to have it read whenever they want, how is that helping prepare them? I mean, like, I
Well,
understand
I
the
guess
sensitivity that-
okay, that's a good question if I was in English class, but I'm not. And
Okay.
my class, I want them to get my content. Yes, I'd like them to be able to read better, and
Right.
hopefully, because it highlights the words as it's reading, it's supporting their learning to read better as well. So it's not like it just reads to you and you don't know where it's at.
Yeah.
It highlights the sentence and each word as it says each word as it goes through there. You can choose different voices. You can. It's just a thing slider for the speed. You can choose different speeds. And I I understand what you're saying because he's using it in Mr. Poole's room and now he goes to his test and he can't use it anymore.
Well, I guess I was even really just more thinking as the ELA teacher, like, when we're in, like, English class.
Right.
If I'm having every child who wants to listen to it, they're not, yeah.
So just the same thing though, a kid with a disability whose IEP says that they have everything read, they can't have it read on the ELA test.
Right.
So it's no different. I mean, that kid gets it read everywhere else, but as soon as they sit in front of that
That's
test, they
true.
can't have it read. So I don't think it's a disadvantage to your kids who don't have an IEP to lose that function because your kids with an IEP are losing that function also.
But I thought the
Oh, how to do it?
On the Google Slides, it says they're.
Not from the
doing
reading,
things that-
everything is
Oh,
reading.
okay.
Questions only, not the,
They're working on it.
not the text.
So I just looked and Google, it only supports English right now.
Yeah, she just looked that up and she did the same thing. They're working on other languages and maybe that's what I remember them saying that they were working on it or something in another class. So you can't do that. Anybody else? I hope you
Can you record your video tomorrow? Does
Yeah.
that have to be here tomorrow?
Yep, I'll record it and it'll be on the youtube.nationaltrail.us.
No, I just need,
Yes. Yep.
to sit down and try out all the.
So, I mean, really, as soon as I'm done with the class, I do exactly what I'm gonna do right now. I just hit stop. This if I want.